Alright guys, today's video is going to be on classes, and classes is a super powerful tool in object-oriented programming languages, which Python is one. However, just to make it clear, I'm not a software engineer. I had never had object-oriented programming classes, or I'm not even a CS student. I'm a business student who works in accounting analytics, and I use programming languages to perform analysis because I had data analysis and statistics courses. So, since this is the basics of Python series of videos, this is going to be a very basic explanation of how I understand it, and I only actually understand it on a very basic level because I've used it just several times. To declare a class in Python, you just write the keyword class and then that class name, colon, and then you proceed with whatever there is in this class. So here we have a class that's called that guy, and we have a name for that guy and the last name for that guy. And if we want to assign Peter to be that guy and then print a list of his name and last name, we're going to get Peter Peterson. So we have our class that guy, which is really only useful for that guy because both of the attributes of this class are static and they're defined here in the body of the class. So whenever we call that guy.name, or in our case Peter.name or .last name, we're always going to get Peter and Peterson. To make it more flexible, Python has the method init. It's a default method, and for this you need the self, which will refer back to the class, and the attributes of the class. So this would be the variable, and this is the attribute. So the way you're going to call it once you have some variable of that class declared. So now say we want to have two guys, and their names are going to be Peter and Ivan, and the last names are Peterson and Ivanov. And here is the list of their names and last names. So say I want to just be able to type .n and get the name of the person, or .l and get the last name of the person. I want to say type Ivan L. This is how I'm going to get that Ivanov variable through the L attribute of the class guy. So notice how in our class guy, we always have to pass variables in a certain order, which is name first, last name second. And that's how it's going to assign these two variables to the attributes of the class. So in order then for us to use the guy class, we have to know the sequence in this init method. Alternatively, we can actually use keywords to do the same job, or our quarks with a double asterisk. The way it's going to work is now we're going to call name in this quarks if you type name, and if you don't type it, it's just going to return not specified. And same goes for last name. And say we have here Peter, which is a class person, and his last name is going to equal Peterson and name Peter. So let's try and call his name. It calls it correctly, even though we've specified name last. In our class person, we actually also have a method, which is just a function of that class, which applies to only that class right now. And the way we did it is we just defined it like a function, so def talk, the name of it, and in brackets, notice that we only have self, so the variable that it's just going to call itself. There is no other variables, so when we call this function and this method, we only need to just type in the class, or in our case we assigned it to be the variable Peter, dot talk, and the empty brackets. And by doing so, it will return to us this sentence. So let's see how that works. And Peter is saying this. Another very useful feature of classes in Python is inheritance. It can be multiple inheritance, but I'm not going to go into that. The whole principle of inheritance is that you declare a class, and in the brackets you specify which class it should inherit methods from. So in our person class, we have the init method and the talk method. Init specifies the attributes of the class by keywords, and talk just makes it say this. So our Slav is a person, so we inherit from the class person, except for we also want to add the ethnicity here, and we make it static. And we also have some method that is only relevant to the Slav class, not the person, which is talk Slavic, which is similar to the talk method here, so we don't have any variables, it really just prints this. So before we go into these methods, let's see how I can just type in Ivan that I have just specified here to be Slav, and if it has the attribute name, and it does, even though we did not have that init method in the Slav class, it inherited it from the person. But also we can do the ethnicity, and it's Slav. But Peter did not have ethnicity, so it doesn't return anything. Just for the sake of it, say you want to create a method in your class that is called exactly the same as the method in your inherited class. The way that Python is going to handle it is through MRO, or method resolution order. So basically, it's going to use the method in the class that you just declared first. If that class does not have the method that's called like this, it's going to refer to the first inherited class and look for the method there. And if there is a method that's called like that, it's going to use it there. And if there isn't, it's going to go and see in the second inherited class, if there is one, and so on, until it finds the method that's called the way you want to call it, and returns what you want. So say I want to have talk method declared in class Slav. If I now want to call that method and see what happens, I get hi there, which is specified here. But if I comment it out, the first place it's going to look is in person class, and it's going to find the method called talk here and return us this sentence instead. So now Ivan is saying he's not a Western spy. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and this is how basically classes work in Python in very basic terms. This is the last video in my Python tutorials. Moving forward, I'm going to be doing different style videos, and I really hope you enjoy them even better. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.